Hello everyone, we already learned what is global variable, what is static variable, how memory is allocated for global variable and how memory is allocated for static variable. We also learned how system work with global variable and system work with static variable. In this class we will compare global variable with static variable. Look, global variable and static variable, for both of these two type of variable, memory is allocated from data section. Clear? And whenever memory is allocated from data section, at that time the value initialized with is 0. That means if programmer does not specify the initial value, at that time system initialized the memory with 0. Clear? Now, what is the difference? As both of these two variable is allocated memory from data section and initialized with 0. That means these two are the similarities in global variable and static variable. Now, how they differ from each other? Now, to understand the difference between static variable and a global variable, we need to know the life and scope concept, and we already learned what is called life of a variable and what is called scope of a variable. So in this class we will compare static variable and global variable with respect to their life and scope. Clear? So what is life? Life means how long a variable will exist in memory after allocation of memory. And scope means, what does scope means? Scope means from where in the program or in a program we can access a particular variable. That particular area is called scope of that particular variable. Now coming to the global variable and static variable. Now look, in C programming there is no keyword like global, but we need to use the static keyword in case of static variable. Clear? So global variable, then static variable. In case of global variable declared outside any block. But in case of static variable is a local to a block. Clear? Now in case of global variable, no keyword is required. No keyword is required, but in case of static variable, static keyword we need to use. Static keyword we need to use. Next thing is memory allocated from data section. Memory allocated from data section. In this case also, for static variable, again memory allocated from data section. Now for default value is 0. Here also default value is 0. Clear? Now next point is global variable. Any global variable is accessible from anywhere in the program. That means any function within the program can access the global variables. Clear? So global variable accessible from anywhere in the program. But static variable, for static variable we can access any static variable only from the block in which it is declared. Clear? That means for static variable accessible only from the block in which it is declared. That means for global variable the scope of the variable is whole program. But in case of static variable the scope will be only the block itself. But for a global variable also, for global variable the memory exists, the variable exists in memory for the whole execution time of the program. That means for global variable the life of the variable will be the whole execution time of the program, and in case of static variable also the life will be the whole execution time of the program. Clear? So life will be full execution time of program. In case of static variable also life will be full execution time of the program. Clear? So let's take an example and see how all these things looks like. Let's say in a program we have integer x as global variable, and then we have main function. Here all the instructions are there, and we have one function ab, and within this function ab we declare a variable static int y. Now some other instructions may be there. Now we have two variable then type. Look, variable x is a global variable as it is not declared within any block. Now variable y is a local variable. Clear? Local but static variable. Clear? Now memory for variable x will be allocated from data section, and memory for y also allocated from data section. That means default value or initial value for x will be 0, initial value for y again 0. Now all these are similarities, but here the type of the variable is different. For in case of x the type of the variable is global variable. This is a global variable, and y is a local variable, but it is a static variable. As it is local but static variable, that's why memory is allocated from data section. Now what happened if in ab function we have one more variable integer z? At that time what happened? Now z is a local variable, and is there any storage class specified for z? No, there is no storage class specified for the variable z. That means what will be the storage class for z? The storage class will be auto. Clear? So as this one is a local variable and not static type variable, and the default storage class is auto, so this is a auto storage class, and because of that the memory will be allocated from stack section, and as the memory is allocated from stack section, and whenever memory is allocated from stack section, at that time the initial value is garbage value, or default initial value will be garbage value. Now this is one scenario. Now what happened if we declare one global variable as static? At that time what will happen? So let's consider we have one more variable integer, let's say p. Let's say we have one more variable static int p. Now look at here, this is a global variable. Now for p, coming to p is a global variable, but this global variable is, with this global variable the storage class that specified is static. That means in case of global variable we specified the storage class as static. Look, as this one is a global variable, the memory will allocate for the variable p from data section, and as the memory is allocated from data section, that's why the initial value will be p. Now what happened for static? Look, in case of global variable, when we use the static storage class, at that time it automatically converted into auto storage class. Clear? That means this static class, as this one is a global variable, this static storage class will automatically converted into auto by the system internally. Clear? That means actually we specified this particular instruction, we gave in the program this particular instruction, but what system will execute? System will convert it into auto int p. That means system internally execute this particular instruction, not this particular instruction whatever we specified as static int p. Even though we specified the storage class as static, but we specified this particular storage class static with some global variable. Whenever we specify static storage class with some global variable, at that time system internally convert that particular static storage class into auto storage class and execute and work with that particular auto storage class, not with static storage class. And this is happen only in case of global variable, and when we use static storage class with some global variable. Clear? So that means here in this case this static is equivalent to auto in case of global variable. Clear? Now coming to the life and scope part of each of these particular variables. The next comparison is life. That means how long after allocate memory, how long the memory will exist for that particular variable. So look, x is a global variable, that means the life of this particular variable will be full execution time. Of the program. So what is the life of this variable y? Look, y is a local variable but static variable. That means the life, that means when the memory is allocated for a static local variable, at that time that particular memory will exist in the memory. That particular variable or memory block allocated to the variable will exist until the program execution terminates. Clear? That means in this case also the life is the full execution time of the program. That means here also we will get full execution time as life of this particular variable y. Now for z is a local variable of local and storage class is auto. So what will be its life, that means how long memory will exist for the variable z. So the variable z is declared in this particular block, AB. So the life of this particular variable is also just execution time of this particular AB function. That means in case of g variable, the life will be execution time of AB function. Clear? Now coming to variable p. Look, p is global and static, that means when static keyword is used with global, at that time it behaved like auto, and whatever we have for global, that is full execution time. That means in the life of p is again full execution time. Clear? Now coming to the scope part. Scope means from where in the program we can use the variable. From where in the program we can use the variable is called the scope of the variable. So as y is a global variable, that means we can use this particular variable in the full program. Anywhere in the program we can use any global variable. That means for this particular global variable x, the scope will be full program or whole program. What does it mean by whole program? That means in the program we can use this particular global variable in any place or in any instruction. Clear? Now this particular variable y, look, y is local. That means we can access this particular variable only inside that particular block in which it is declared. So the variable y is declared in which block? The variable y is declared in the block AB. That means for this scope will be AB function only. That means only from inside the AB function we can access the variable y, even though the memory for y will allocate from data section, then also it is accessible only from inside the AB function. That means the block in which it is declared. Clear? Now coming to the variable z. Now look, z is a local variable. That means it is accessible only from this function. That means here also the scope of this particular variable z is the block in which it is declared, that means AB function itself. Now coming to the variable p. Now look, p is declared as global variable with static storage class. That means internally it works as auto int p. That means it is behaved exactly same as the global variables. Clear? So what will be the scope of this particular variable p? Again the whole program. Clear? So this is the full comparison between any type of variables that is possible in, that is we can declare as either local with static, global with static, clear, or normal local variable. Clear? So hope you understood the whole comparison between global and static variable. So that's it for today. See you soon in our next class. Thank you.